This is Travis in the Uncanny Valley. I'm going to talk about perfectionism. This is a symptom or a trait that is prevalent in multiple conditions or disorders. And I thought I would touch on it because it's something I've given a lot of thought to. So, yeah, the psychological definition for perfectionism. I think of the quality of these videos. It's like, no, I'm not a perfectionist. Like, there's a way that I could do these videos at a different, uh, to a different level of production value. Like, there's, there's a whole spectrum up there that I could attempt to attain, and that is not the point of these. And so, yeah, it's kind of funny to me, but perfectionism in psychology is a broad personality style characterized by a person's concern with striving for flawlessness and perfection, and is accompanied by critical self evaluations and concerns regarding others' evaluations. Um, so, yeah, for me, do I have a concern with striving for flawlessness and perfection? I mean, that is just no, absolutely not. Um, I try to do my best, and on any given day, my best is going to have uh, few screw ups or more screw ups. Like it's inevitable. Like your best one day and your best the next day, and then your best the next day. Like it's life. So I try and do my best, but while giving myself grace, because not everyone's gonna extend that to you, and I try and give that to others too. Um, really, I try and be a voice for like, yeah, well, if we're doing 2,000 very small tasks, um, like we're gonna miss or mess up a few of them. So like this is some of those. So it was not technically inevitable, but high probability that you're gonna miss some things. You know, the only problem around that, as I see it, is if there's stress or anger or anything like that around um, foreseeable. It's foreseeable that you're gonna miss things. Um, yeah. So I don't absolutely don't have a strive for flawlessness and perfection. Like it can be attained at a certain scale. If I'm doing a day's worth of work, if I have a day's worth of work ahead of me, or just a task, and I'm not given like X amount of minutes or hours to do the task, but it's just like do this task as good as you can. That's the job. Then within that context, I'm going to be a perfectionist because uh, well, for one, that's rare. I mean, usually you need to get it done in a very timely manner. And, but anyways, yeah, like it's rare that you're afforded the opportunity to be a perfectionist. And that's not a hang up for me, that's not uh, a provision. Um, and is accompanied by critical self evaluations and concerns regarding other evaluations. So yes, I absolutely um, give myself critical self evaluations. Um, the thing I've really reeled in recent years is that I don't, because I was able to decipher, I was able to crack the code that it's socially undesirable that you offer up unsolicited critical advice to others. Um, Even though they could optimize their process or whatever. They don't want it, and that's fine. I just didn't really get that for a while. Um, so I am about process optimization. So like, I will, um, I will do the dishes in a very optimal and efficient way. Like every fifth time, it's like if I'm like in a mood and I'm like, wanting to be efficient. Like, I'll do my efficient way of doing it, but usually I'm just like, whatever. Like, it really doesn't matter to me. It's just like sometimes if I have a ton of things to do on my list and that's one of them, and I want like a little boost of feeling like I can do something really efficiently, like I know how to go about that. I open 11 kitchen drawers and doors, and then uh, I have my hands. Yeah, there's a system, but it's like it's take it or leave it. But yeah, I'm very critical of myself. Um, but it's not so that I'm necessarily going to fix everything in that project. Like, it's mostly just because I'm stuck in a constant state of analysis. So, like, I'm going to be doing analysis. It might as well be accurate criticism of myself. But I don't have all of the negative baggage about the word criticism. Like, to be critical and criticism isn't inherently negative. I mean, like, it's if it's coming from someone else, and I know the world largely has a negative connotation with criticism and unsolicited, like, yeah, you're going to take that differently than from yourself. I get that now. And, like, I'm going to take that from someone else with like a different, a different mood, I'll say. But I, oh, let's see here. So at work, like, if I have a kid or someone new to the trade that I'm teaching how to do something, like, my focus is instilling in them that uh, they should view the task with the objectives in mind from a first principles approach, and that the end goal um, should drive their processes. That, by all means, develop efficient processes for yourself, but it will be based on what physical tools you have and your personal skill set and the way that you feel like you're doing it most efficiently. And by all means, come up with an efficient process that you like, because doing that process that you like is going to make you more efficient than doing my process or someone else's process that they like based on their skill set and all that stuff. So, like, for me, it's there is no right way to do something. If someone tells you there's a right way to do a task, they're more than likely wrong. And so my advice has always been to listen to them. If you're working for them, uh, humor them, do it that way. If you're in a position where you need to be doing it that way, but just tuck that in your pocket and just know that that's one possible way to do that task. Sometimes I am a perfectionist, but it's very task specific. So if the product is a going to be shared between myself and someone else, or it's for someone else, or if time is a factor, if it's not a temporary, you know, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? A cheap good. If it's a durable good meant to last, if it's a piece of furniture meant to last potentially hundreds of years, then I'm going to give that much more attention to detail and much more quality than if it is something that's intended to be very temporary. Um, yeah, so time is a factor in that. Yeah. So quality, yes, but perfectionism, absolutely no. So what I see at play in myself when I'm doing something that would appear that I'm being driven by perfectionism is that it's very often um, a struggle with executive function. So when I'm doing a new task or a task that maybe I've done it several times, but like, uh, if I'm roofing a house, like, I know the optimal um, quality way to do that And then if I don't have a certain product, or something goes wrong in that process, like, that's a hurdle that I can't necessarily overcome because I'm not a roofer by trade. I've roofed several, I've roofed enough houses to where I can feel competent. A roofer might say, "Yeah, you don't know what you're doing," but like, the point is, I feel competent to a certain level, and I'm able to perform the series of tasks as I understand them. But the executive function comes into play where, like, if there's a hiccup in that, if that product or something's wrong with the process and I can't see that through to the end, um, that can look like I'm paralyzed by not being able to be a perfectionist. But it's just that I don't often have backup plans for every step of something, where I'm just used to doing it one way and I only know to do it one way. If it's not something I'm uh, super skilled at, like, I'm just going to have confidence in the known process. And then I don't know how to necessarily go about doing it alternate ways that still achieve that same level of quality. So I guess, really, to wrap this up, the way that I can know that I'm not a perfectionist is because it goes against what I absolutely know about myself, namely that I have a growth mindset, which to me means that I'm never settling on my current way of doing a thing. Like, it's actually only through never thinking that there's a perfect way, a singular perfect way of doing something, that I'm able to make improvements at all. I mean, because that's such a way of becoming obsolete, is by thinking that you have and are doing a process in the correct way. And I don't accept that over time that that's going to be true for most things. So I there's nothing that I do that I think I even know the perfect way, let alone that I could uh, achieve it. And that goes for others too. I mean, like, you can show me your way of doing something, and I'll try to respectfully observe and learn that way of doing it, and maybe even listen to you say that that's the way of doing it, or the best way of doing it. I might humor you, I might not, but like, um, yeah, I don't know of very many things where I could do something perfectly, and that dissuades me from even really understanding how I would go about being a perfectionist. Like, so maybe that's a executive function thing. It's like, I don't know how I would be a perfectionist because I couldn't do it. Okay, one more thing that I when I make mistakes at work, which I often do, uh, so I'm eager to be the one to find the mistakes and point them out, because um, and I briefly thought, well, let me explore whether that's a pride issue. Like, yeah, I make mistakes, but I catch them all. And it's not, because, when other people bring up my mistakes, I respond the same. Like, it's like, yeah, I made a mistake. It's like, let's fix it. Like, I have the same response. And it's just, um, and I have the same response when I catch my mistake as when I catch someone else's mistake. Um, if they're trying, if you're trying to do your job and you're making mistakes, then you know that's gonna happen. But so the reason I'm eager to point out my mistakes is because I want to. I'm eager to put myself out there in that way to where I'm vulnerable. I'm saying, here I am. I made a mistake, and this is me being calm about it. And I'm gonna not play dumb, but like I'm gonna genuinely be dumbfounded if you have uh, anger where it's not warranted, or uh, a level of frustration that's not commensurate with the mistake, or think or suggest that um, mistakes are avoidable. So yeah, I mean, I want to do that because I want to promote that in front of others. I want to exemplify that, like, mistakes are inevitable. Uh, we can move past them. We don't have to dwell on them. And we can all learn from each other's mistakes, but only if we don't hide them, only if we uh, admit that it was our mistake and not, try and blow it off or sweep it under the rug as if it was some uh, other external fictional factor. Um, and that you didn't actually make, I didn't actually make a mistake. It was, blah, blah, blah.